Hey everyone, I'm making this video today to talk a little bit more about grades. I got some questions on how to set up your grade book and Schoology, as well as helping to make those grades connect to Q and have the two platforms talk to each other. I'm using Screencastify to make this video. If you haven't used Screencastify, I definitely recommend it. I think it's a great resource for digital learning. If you want some more information or help with it, I'm more than happy to help. But today, this video is about grades. And so I'm going to spend most of my time showing you how to do your grade book in Schoology. I think that this is a helpful and great resource for teachers. It will help you when doing your final grades for report cards, and it also will show the grades to the students so that you can have student accountability and have the students take ownership of their own learning. Some hints that I learned were to be careful of the categories that you're creating. So I'll show you what I mean by that. I think that it's more useful to use less categories than more categories and to stick to the basics. So just using reading, writing, math, social studies, etc. And then also to make sure that you're saving changes as you go along. Because if you don't, you will lose them all. And I know because I did it. In terms of linking it with Q, I think this is a maybe. And for me personally, it's a no. The reason why you would do this is because you use Q as a place where you send your parents and families to check the status of students in your course. So you would tell them, make sure to check Q to make sure that you know what your students' grades are. I think this is typically used in middle and high school when students have several different teachers, different courses. It's one landing page for parents to be able to go in and quickly check the status of their student in any class. I know that in elementary, I tend to just reach out to the parents directly, either on Class Dojo or giving them a phone call saying, hey, can we talk about your kiddo's grade? I have never sent a parent to Q to look at their students' grades. If you do, then taking the time to set up grades with Q is probably worth your time. It's a little tricky to set up. I did go through setting it up for my class, and so I'm happy to show you all of the steps, but it's time consuming. And if you don't use Q as a way for parents to keep track of grades, then it's not really worth it. And then also keep in mind that because we're only choosing one place, a landing page on Schoology for all of our course content, your grades will only show up in that one section that you've chosen on Schoology. It's not going to put grades into reading, writing, all of the different sections. It will only put it into one section. And then finally, what I find is frustrating is that it's only going to put the grades into gradebook. It will not automatically put grades into class marks, which is what we use for final report cards. So even if you had Schoology and Q talking, you still need to go in and put in their grades. So I just don't think that using Q is worth it. But if you do and you want some help, I'm happy to help you one-on-one later on. But I am going to show you some of the features in the gradebook and Schoology because I do think that those are helpful. So if you go to your Schoology page, you hopefully have created a course that's going to be your main landing page for all of your content where the students are going to go to access your class. This is mine. And so when you go inside of that course, along the side are all of the different tools that you can use within Schoology. And here's your gradebook in the grade setup. It's very easy. So before your gradebook is very useful for you, you need to set up your gradebook. So click on grade setup. And then what you need to do is decide what categories you're going to use for grading your students. So I stuck to the core categories, and I also put in a participation category and a homework category. Adding categories are very simple. You just click add, and then say you wanted to add an additional category. Maybe you wanted to put in PBL specifically, and all you do is click create. Then along the top, it's going to tell you that your grading category has been added. That's awesome, but it's not saved. You need to make sure to scroll all the way down to the bottom and click Save Changes. It will not automatically save for you. And then beyond that, I'm going to incorporate PBL into my other content areas. So I don't need a specific PBL category. And to delete your categories, you just go across here and you click on it, and then you can delete the category. And again, it'll tell you that it's been deleted, but it hasn't been saved. So make sure to save those changes. A couple of other things within your gradebook that you might want to consider changing. They have the final grade setting, and it's a gradebook scale. And you can choose either numeric or the traditional grading scale. I find this more helpful. I even find it helpful for primary because I always kind of viewed them as equivalents, so that a proficient plus is an A plus, and maybe a student with a D is marginal. They're not quite there. And I find that that's an easy equivalent for primary. The other categories within this, the course override column would be that if a student had maybe 75% in terms of points that they've earned, but you think that they've really earned a B, or you want to give them their final grade, you don't want it to automatically show up, you could click on this. I don't think that's necessary right now. I think for me, I just want the grade to match their points earned. And so hiding any of these will change what your grade book looks like, and you can hover over and get more information if you want. I'm going to keep them. And then visibility might be something to consider. If you don't want students to go in and check their grades, then you can hide it from them. And I think that that's valuable as well. If you have a kiddo who's really stuck on what grades they've earned and not what learning they're doing, then maybe you need to do that. Maybe it's not helpful for primary for the kiddos to know their grades. They don't need to look at that. I think for intermediate, it helps with student accountability. So I'm going to keep it. And one more time, I'm going to save those changes. And that's all you need to do. You need to set up your gradebook. You are all ready to go. And so now you can click over to the actual physical gradebook. And I think that this is really helpful. So you have all of your students automatically populated in there. And the reason that I said to keep simple categories is because under all materials, you can click this and it will give you a drop-down menu of your categories. And so I can click on math and it will only weed out the assignments that I have designated as math, and it will give me their percentage in math only. And if I had given different categories like math homework, math participation, a math test versus a math assignment, I would need to go through and click all of those different categories and maybe add them up and average them to figure out how they're doing in math. And I just don't think that that's as helpful as being able to click math and see all of their math grades. And you can go through and you can click any of them. And then if you want their overall grade, you just go back to all materials and we'll put all of the assignments on there again. To add assignments within your course, there are a couple of different things that you can do. One thing you can do is add the assignment here. So there's a gray plus button and you can click this. And these are really only the 3 ways that you can get a grade within Schoology, is either through an assignment, through a test or a quiz, or a discussion. If you add them right here, they're going to go to your main materials page at the very bottom. You can do that. I would rather add them exactly where I want in the course, and I'll show you later what I mean. But you could add something like that right here. The only time that I would suggest using this gray plus button is actually to add a grade column. And I think this is really cool because sometimes we're going to be grading our students on things that aren't happening in Schoology. So I've added a couple of grade columns already. I added one, for example, for a Kahoot, and then one for a WebEx meeting. Those are participation grades that are going to happen outside of the Schoology course, but I still want them to be participating in those. So if you add the grade column, another example of something that you want the kiddos to be engaging with, but maybe you don't want them, or you can't actually grade it in Schoology, maybe you made a flip grid. That's an awesome tool. And if you haven't used it, check it out. And so you've made a flip grid and you just want them to participate. You want them to start using Flipgrid as a learning tool. And then I'm going to switch it to numeric again because that's what or to the traditional scale, that's what I prefer. And then I'm going to create this course. Here under points is where you might consider giving a test worth 100 points, and maybe participation like this, I'm going to only make it worth 20 points so that you can weight the different value of the grades as you go along. And then I can create this assignment. It's going to make a new category here. And this is not inside my course. This is something that I'm going to grade outside of this, and I'm going to put in different grades for the kiddos. And then I don't have to worry about the fact that it's not in Schoology itself. This is also helpful for primary if you're doing a lot of your assignments through Seesaw. You can put Seesaw assignment for math or whatever it might be that you're doing. If you decide later that you created this and you didn't want to have it there, all you need to do is click those 3 buttons, go down to the bottom, and you can delete it. It'll ask you, are you sure? You're like, yes, please delete. And there you go. So I think this is really helpful in terms of thinking that it's a lot of work to add the grade book. It's really not. And so one more thing I want to show you is that anytime you create an assignment somewhere in your course, you're going to see it automatically show up in your grade book. So say I wanted to add something for the students to do on Monday. I'm going to click in that Monday folder, and I'm going to add a discussion because discussions can be graded. And so maybe I'm going to have the kids talk about your favorite color. And then on here, I could maybe give them a description of please answer what your favorite color is, use a complete sentence, make sure to explain why it's your favorite color. I would give an example. I would write on there, my favorite color is green because I really love trees, something like that. And then you might also tell the students, I expect you to respond to 2 other classmates. And so then you can enable the grading, and I would consider this a participation, but maybe you're going to have them do a discussion for a response to reading. That would go under your reading category. Again, if you want to be careful about how many points things are, it automatically goes to 100 points every time. Remember that you can give them a due date. You can say, I want you to respond by this date. And then one more time, you can choose which way you're going to do it. Under this create new, that would be if you wanted to create a rubric, which might be really helpful for PBL. For this case, I would just use this. And then I can create my assignment, and it will go to the bottom of my Monday folder. But then if I go back to my grade book, that assignment will already be in there, which is awesome. And so here is my favorite color discussion board, and it's there. And as I grade it in Schoology, those grades will automatically come, or you can come later if you want to and just add the grades yourself. But you can grade them right there in Schoology as you're reading their different responses, which is really nice, I think. I think that's all I've got for you. If you have questions or if you want some individual help setting up your grade book, please feel free to ask. I would love to help you. Again, I think that it's worth your time to set it up in Schoology, but maybe not as much in Q. And if you need anything else, let me know. All right, bye.